Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about people start missing you when this occurs.
It's very important.
Yes.
Before we get into it, I did want to say that Craig and I are available for coaching sessions. So if that's something that you are interested in, you can head to the website and book from there.
Yep, we'll be happy to help you out. You know, one of the things that we really struggle with during a breakup is feeling like somebody is going to miss us, like they might come back, like they may change their mind, and we just have a lot of doubts, which is totally understandable. Our connections with other people are often some of the most important aspects of our life. Connections with friends, family, peers, but especially our romantic partners. As an adult, we rely on our romantic partners and the connection that we have with our romantic partners more so than anybody else. And so we spend the most time with that person, okay? We share dreams with that person. We share goals, ambitions, fears, intimacy. We bond with that person more so than we do with anybody else, on a deeper level than we do with anyone else in our life. And even with your own children, we share these vulnerable aspects of ourselves. And so it creates such an incredibly powerful bond with somebody. But a lot of times a relationship fails, right? And it could be for a lot of different reasons. People struggle with their mental health. They have different ideas about life and how to live life. They have different goals. They have struggles with their ability to communicate their needs. They neglect their partners. And a lot of times there isn't a lack of safety, emotional safety. And so people don't feel safe in the relationship anymore.
Right. And when we lose that person, that can be a traumatic experience for us. It really changes the way we look at life and relationships in general. Mm-hmm. So you may feel heartbroken, you may feel lost, hopeless, and powerless. When somebody makes a unilateral decision about your relationship like that, it can really shake your perspective.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're here. That's why we talk about breakups and relationships on the channel all the time. We want to continue to educate people to get through this really difficult time in their lives of separation.
Yep.
Now, while this might be one of the hardest times in your life, for them, they might be experiencing relief. And this is something that's so confusing.
Yes.
So on our end, we're struggling to understand how could this person leave us. On their end, they're experiencing life again in a different way.
Yeah. And I just wanted to jump in because yesterday I was watching an interview with Dak Shepard, and he was talking about how he had broken up with somebody. He left the house and he just felt so elated at the time. And then he said, but then the next day I was devastated and wanted them back. So it was really interesting to hear when you see that come out in interviews and stuff like that, and people are just bluntly being honest about their experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you see your partner in that stage of separation elation where they're relieved, excited, maybe even happy about the breakup.
Oh, that's the worst.
It's hard to imagine them missing you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel missed or longed for at all. In fact, you might feel like a nuisance to their life. You might feel like an annoyance to their life that they finally got rid of, and that's such a terrible feeling to have, with somebody that you cared about.
It's almost like, what did I do wrong?
Right.
What's wrong with me?
Right. So emotional connections are fundamental to human relationships and human connection. That type of bond that you share with somebody where you're vulnerable with them and they are vulnerable with you, that is not something to be taken for granted, whether you are the dumpy or the dumper. And this is hard for a lot of people to understand because they think, well, this person made the decision, they don't care, their emotions are shut off, we don't see their grief, and it's hard to imagine that they ever will be in a state of grief. And so we don't understand how the human psyche works in terms of memory and in terms of triggers and in terms of remembering what that connection felt like.
That longing.
Yes. We know what it's like for us. Going through a breakup, we're experiencing a lot of triggers immediately. You can't walk outside without thinking about your ex. You can't go to the grocery store, pass by the red apples. Oh, my ex always loved red apples.
It's awful,
Right?
Isn't it?
And it might not happen for them initially.
Yeah.
But because of the bond that the two of you shared, because of the memories that the two of you have created together, getting to know each other on that deep and intimate personal level, they too will experience these triggers.
Yeah, they will.
Too will also experience this type of nostalgia for the relationship in due time.
Yeah. But when? When? That's what everybody wants to know. When do they start missing you? When does someone start missing you? Okay, so this is important, okay? When you are scarce and there is time and space for them to miss you. I'm going to say that again. This is important. When you are scarce and there is time and space for them to miss you. But time and space go together, okay? I know it's tough. It's really hard to live in that moment because each moment feels like an eternity, but not for the dumper. They are going to take time before they start to experience the loss. But as time goes, if you don't reach out, if you stay in no contact, as we teach you to do, they will start to think about you more and more, and they will stop thinking so much about the things that were keeping them from you and all the reasons that they shouldn't be with you, and doubt will start to creep in. So now, all of a sudden, they start to feel the space. This is what you're wanting, okay? When they feel the space, that is when they feel anxiety. And as Margaret has said to us many, many times, all anxiety is separation anxiety, right? It's true, okay? And Margaret learned that in her many, many years as working as a clinician. And she absolutely believed that all anxiety is separation anxiety, okay? So anxiety starts to creep in more and more. Then at night, they're laying there. They can't help but think about you. They can't help stalk your social media. They're reminded of you. And all these things start to impact them. And when life continues to happen to them and you're no longer there to share it with them, that person that they could count on is no longer there. That is such a huge loss to somebody. Mm-hmm. And they may have had new people that they thought they could rely on, and they turn out to be unreliable.
That's true. So if you were reliable in that relationship, that's a very big asset that you have and a big strength that you have to that relationship, is being there consistently. Normally when we're in a romantic partnership, you see each other on a regular basis. You talk on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. You share vulnerable things on a regular basis. Yeah. And so this creates almost like a routine and a habit in the relationship of being together. Yeah. So once that's broken, they decided to end the relationship and these things don't continue, they start to sense it with time. Mm-hmm. And there's the study called the ACEs study, which is the Adverse Child Experiences study. And basically it looked at trauma in our lives and it looks at our physical health and how these two things can be connected. Mm-hmm. And one thing that they found, that people who had experienced a lot of adversity in their childhood, the thing that made the difference in whether these adversities impacted them all through adulthood was if they had connections in their life. Strong, secure, emotionally safe connections.
That's right.
That was something that mediated and changed some of the outcomes. So if we apply this idea to relationships, you were likely that person for your ex. You were likely that person who created that emotional safety for them. Mm-hmm. You were that person that they felt connected to and made a difference in their life. So that is not something that somebody easily forgets. Yeah. Especially as time continues, especially as they start dealing with, other adult adversities on their own. Yep. So don't minimize your impact on your ex's life. This is something that will create longing in them over time. Mm-hmm. So for them, life after a breakup also looks like uncertainty, but in a bit of a different way. Yeah. They're going to be experiencing triggers in their life. I know we talked about triggers earlier, triggers to memory and nostalgia, but they will also experience triggers of dealing with very difficult things in adulthood that they may have relied on you to help support them with. Yeah. But sometimes we want to tell them. Yes. We want to say, but it's not going to be the same without me. That guy that you like, mm-hmm, doesn't care about you like I do. That woman that you like doesn't care about you like I do.
Telling them is not going to work.
No, they have to
It's not gonna
experience
work.
it. It's very
Yeah.
different for them to be in that moment and reach for the phone about to call you and then remember, oh, I made this decision to end the relationship. This is not somebody that I can go to for this kind of support anymore. You know, so a lot of times these kind of relationship routines or habits can be really integrated in our bodies
Yeah.
for you and for your ex. So it's something that can be very tough. So some examples of what can trigger them to think about the ways that they have emotionally relied on you can be they experience any type of loss or pain.
That's
and
huge.
This is something that's inevitable in life. You know, you have to think about at some point pets pass away, family members pass away, friends pass away. So these are all things that can impact someone, grief and loss.
Yeah,
and
major
who you turn to.
Major changes that they're not going to think about or consider at the time of the breakup. But like I said, when time goes by and that space is there, they want to share these things with someone, and they likely were going to share those things with you. Somebody has a baby. That's a big one. They start to think, oh my God, we were going to have a baby together. We were going to have kids together. Now so-and-so is having a baby together. Things aren't going well at work. You know, they're stressed out at work. They want to come home and talk to you about those things. You were the person that helped them, that listened, that was there. Now you're not there anymore. Maybe the support system that they thought they had lets them down. Maybe they start to spend more times with old friends, and those old friends just aren't who they thought they were going to be. Family disappoints them, friends disappoint them, and guess what? They start to realize, you know what? We may have had our problems, but you didn't disappoint me, and they start to think about that. And another big one is they had this fantasy that this new person was going to be so wonderful and amazing. I see this one all the time, and it doesn't work out. And most of the time, the rebounds don't work out. And most of the time, a rebound is not going to compare to you.
Right. Another factor to consider is also their mental health. One thing that I see a lot is that exes who are depressed will end the relationship because they need to handle their depression on their own. They feel like they are too much of a burden to you. What ends up happening is they realize with time, I can't do this alone. This was somebody who held me up, who supported me in this time as much as they could.
Yep.
So mental health is a huge factor. And I just get the image of somebody trying to open a jam jar, and it's so hard to open. You know, you always ask that person, oh, do you need some help opening the jar? No, I got it. They can't open it. Finally, they're like, all right, can you open the jar? That's the image that I get.
Yeah.
You know, when somebody's
they finally can't
refusing
take
help,
it anymore.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, I need help with this, actually. So they start to think about all of the positive things that you've brought into their life.
Yeah.
You know, their daily routines, those things don't feel the same without you.
Absolutely. And if you stay in no contact, as we teach it, don't reach out, they start to really feel like they've lost you. And then they often start to wonder if you've changed, if things can change. This is why we always tell you, you got to do the work in no contact. Don't just watch those no contact videos. They're not going to help you when they come back. They may help you get through the day, but they're not going to help you when you really need to know how to do those skills. So they start to wonder if you have actually moved on, because now they haven't heard from you in a while and you're not chasing them anymore. And they start to feel, ironically, like they have been left behind. It's hard to believe, but things change. Feelings change with time. They start to feel left behind. They start to feel disconnected. They start to have these feelings of nostalgia and longing, and they can't turn it off. Now, of course, this doesn't happen in every situation. I gotta say that, but it happens many times. It happens often. We hear exes say these things all the time when they come back. So the life changes that they have to go through without you causes them to feel this sense of disconnection, isolation, missing their emotional support. And now that you're not physically present or emotionally present, they start to feel this void that you brought to their life, this absence. We have a fundamental need to connect and attach. That is a huge part of being a human being. Okay? Like, we have to eat, we have to drink, we have to sleep, and we have to connect. And so when they feel that loss, they're going to really think about things and reconsider. Now, we all have different experiences growing up. We all have different parents and parents that treated us differently, and we all attach differently based on surviving childhood. So those connections are going to shape and influence how we bond and connect with others and impact our adult romantic relationships. But when we feel disconnected and separated from our loved ones, our attachment system is triggered. It releases hormones, anxiety, we feel sadness and longing. And this is why people often feel an intense emotional response when they realize that you're gone.
Right. And when we're away physically from our partners, from our loved one, we also have that distance emotionally, which is what they have wanted, which is why they ended the relationship. But what also happens is they struggle to manage their own emotions and to self-soothe. You know, just as you are struggling to self-soothe during this breakup, or more than likely. You know, it's difficult to go through that separation and feel distant from someone.
Yeah, so you get that experience right at the time of the breakup, but they get it later.
They have a delayed reaction.
Exactly.
Right. And so we might feel like we're losing our sense of identity or purpose without our social connections, and the same happens with them too at a different time.
That's right.
So they often experience this feeling of restlessness, discomfort. They might experience things like irritability sometimes. They might go into depression themselves. They might feel a lot of confusion. Sometimes you see a lot of unpredictable behavior from exes too. So a lot of different things can come up for them as they're trying to manage their emotions and understand what their grief looks like after a breakup. And so they might feel so much anxiety, so much loss, that they actually begin to reconsider the relationship. Of course, it depends on the quality of the relationship. And of course, it depends on a lot of different factors here. But considering you were a reliable partner, considering the relationship was good and positive, this is something that will happen for them.
Yeah. This discontent that they experience viscerally, that they can't shut off, they can't turn off, they're in their body, in their mind, is often a huge catalyst for them to reconnect and want to repair things. They want to fill that emotional void that they've lost in that absence, and they're going to be a lot more likely to reach out and establish a connection. So the reason that we went so in depth to all these details is that when you understand the experience that human beings go through during loss and a breakup and separation, you can understand what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and what makes them come back. But this is why we always tell you guys to go no contact. And as we teach it, it simply means not to reach out to the dumper. Okay, every situation is different and every breakup is different. But we have found that it is the strongest thing that you can do is to leave someone alone and let them reach out to you when they feel ready. When that happens, you want to take things slow, act like an adult, and you really want to be able to implement all the skills that you learned in no contact. Hopefully you've been doing that creative healing course or the workbooks 30 minutes a day. So you're ready to show off the changes. You don't tell them you've changed. Don't bother. It's going to make it worse. You show them the changes. And so the experience that human beings go through takes time and space and scarcity. And that ultimately, those things together are what makes somebody really miss you and really want to reach out and repair things.
Right. And while there's no guarantee, you know, we can't sit here and say there's 100% guarantee that every ex will come back. You know, you need to be able to give them space, both for them, but also for you to, you know, put yourself back together after an event like this. And also for you to really figure out what it is that you want. How are we going to make this relationship last? Missing them and having them miss you is just the first part of all of this. And we have hundreds, if not thousands at this point, of videos talking about how to repair relationships and make them last.
Absolutely.
So I hope that those also get some attention too.
Yes, please watch those videos. They're often the least watched videos. And then you guys wonder why you go through a second, third breakup and you can't make your relationships work. We're putting out the content. You guys just got to watch it, okay? And commit to the growth. All right, so hopefully you found this one helpful. Of course, if you want to get my help personally, you could do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here and ready to chat whenever you're ready.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.